Okay, I hope you can hear this okay. I left my good mic at home, and I promised you I would have these recorded tonight. As you can tell, I'm recording after school, so we might have a few interruptions, but we'll try to do this as best as we can and as quickly as possible. So for lesson 3A, I've asked some of you to watch this lesson to get a little bit of review from Math 8. So if you can see on the outcomes, we've got some Math 8 outcomes for drawing nets, and then using nets to interpret a net to build a 3D object. So by the end of this, I want you to know what is a net. Hopefully you remember that, and I don't mean like a fishing net. I want you to know how to create a net for a 3D prism. So I might give you a shape and tell me what net matches it, or I might give you a net and I want you to tell me which prism does it match. Okay, so for your notes, and again, some of you will have these notes, some of you will not. This might just be a good video for you to watch for review if you need it. Otherwise, if I've given you the notes, it's because I want you to do the notes. So, a net. You might find this in your textbook, but you might have to use the internet. So I want you to take a minute and pause it and find out what a net is. So a net is a flat shape. It is two-dimensional, and when you fold it up, it folds into a three-dimensional object, or a 3D object. So it is a flat shape that represents a 3D object. So in order to describe a 3D object, we need three views. And so if you remember back to grade 8, we used a Kleenex box a lot for this. And if you notice in your notes, there's a Kleenex box below. And so for a 3D object, the three sides that we need is we need the top. And once we know what the top looks like, we will also know what the bottom looks like, because they should be identical for a rectangular prism. We also need to know the front. And if we know the front, we also know the back. Again, they are identical. And then lastly, we need the sides. So we need the left and right sides. And these will also be identical for the prisms that we're going to be dealing with. So you need a minimum of three views. As we get into more complex shapes, you will need more. But for now, we only need three. So if we were looking at something like the Kleenex box or like the recycling bin, these are some possible nets. So on the, sorry, I'm just trying to find a good spot to, I'm going to do this. I'm going to slide. I'm going to slide this down here so that we can look at it side by side with the net on the left. And so on the Kleenex box, we've got the top of the Kleenex box. So this is the top. And then we have the front. So this is the front. And if we're continuing around, we would be underneath. And so then we have the bottom of the box, and then the back of the box, and then the left side, and then the right side. So that's one way to make a net for a rectangular prism, such as the Kleenex box. Or we could do a representation like with the recycling bin. Okay, so if we're looking at the recycling bin, so now looking at this larger shape, so this is the front. And then on our net, this would be the front. Okay, and then we've got the top, and that's the slimmer side, so this is the top. And this would be the back. And then we have the left side, the right side, and the bottom. So one thing I want you to notice about these is the sides that are similar shapes. So left side and right side, those should be the easiest to see that they are the same shape. And if you used a ruler and measured them out, you would see they're the same. And that the top and bottom are the same. And then the front and back are the same. That's a little bit easier to see on the recycling bin example, since the front and sides are not, and the front and top and bottom are not the same, whereas in the Kleenex box, they look a bit more similar. So again, we have nets and a 3D figure of could either be a rectangular prism or a square prism. In this case, we know it's a rectangle because one side is 20 millimeters, and the bottom is 10 millimeters. So they're not the same measurement, so it can't be a square. And so it's been labeled again, it's laid flat, front and back are the same, top and bottom are the same, left and right are the same. And it folds to make a 3D figure. So your job is to look at these different shapes and find how do they match. Okay, so this is the net of a cube, and then this is the prism of a cube. So you're going to find the other ones and match them up, and I am going to check that from you tomorrow. And that's it. That's the end of lesson 3A.